I'm studying Amy Robach and TJ Holmes far too much. Whatever you think of TJ Holmes and Amy Robach, they certainly know how to maintain media attention. The buzz of the tabloid newsrooms this week has been about the former news anchors and current podcast presenters who got into a fight on a podcast episode and then discussed it in a follow-up episode. You have to give them credit for their dedication to the grind. Let me explain what occurred in case you don't want to listen to over 2 hours of podcasting. The Things Ain't Right episode of Amy and TJ was released on Tuesday by Robach and Holmes. To discuss the status of their relationship, Holmes had invited Robach to his place, where he surprised her with a podcast recording. "We're not right," said Holmes. "We're not all right now, you and me." "You know what," I said. "Let's record and produce a podcast. Take this with a grain of salt. I'm not a couples therapist, but I don't know of any situation in which a disagreement has been resolved by one partner proposing they simply podcast it out. These two may be an exception, as they openly detailed over the course of the following 45 minutes the emotional toll that running a podcast has had on their relationship, as well as their communication problems and emotional availability to one another." When Robach refers to them as communication kinks, she really means kinks in a hose rather than the other sort. Things deteriorated, there were tears, and all the tabloids covered it. The couple had to post a joint Instagram reel to reaffirm that they were still together since the event garnered so much attention. This leads us to the present day, when the rerun episode was made available. It's worth noting that this program airs twice a week. What on earth are they discussing on that platform? Actually, it is none of my concern. However, I can tell you what happened during Thursday's program. The makeup edition of the program, according to Holmes, will see them make up as a couple for the fight we got into on the previous episode. The two haven't fully reconciled, according to Robach, who said that listening to the episode again while debating whether or not to share it brought up a lot of other emotions. The main topic of discussion in Thursday's episode is how and why Tuesday's episode was released. According to Holmes, he was afraid that others would see him as a black man beating up on a white woman. Robach said that she hadn't given it much thought. "It's kind of to your point that I would never have thought about the fact that you're black and I'm white," she said. "You must consider topics that I am exempt from having to consider." To be honest, it took me a while to kind of get it. I felt like a lights went off for me when you described it and we saw the response. At least one thing that the two agreed on was said by Holmes: "Do not record your fights." I have to concur. That is, unless your job involves producing a bi-monthly podcast about your relationship. If so, I believe that's a requirement of the job.